Hello there. Today I will be ranking all of our players from who I think is most likely to win, to least likely, in a tier list. This will be based on how their game is looking going into next week, their potential long-term prospects, and how I think the edit is factoring into their chances to win or go far. This ranking is my own personal opinion, and will probably change massively from week to week, but these are my thoughts after episode 3. I also want to point out that tiers are not ordered in any particular way. Brad was voted out this week with multiple advantages and without playing his dice, which is unfortunate for him. He joins the RIP tier. In the E tier for the third straight time is Heather. We did not see much of Heather again, which is not great for her game. She sat out of the challenge again, and if her tribe were to ever lose she could be an easy target. Sydney also mentioned that she did not want Heather and Nasia to find the advantage, which is bad for Heather. Heather is still not likely to make the merge in my eyes, so she stays in the E tier. Next in the E tier we have Naseer, who looks to be on the outs of his tribe this week. He drops from the C tier, as he was painted as a target by his tribe, as Sydney told Danny and Deshawn they were Nasier's targets. Luvu does not seem to care about Nasier's role as a provider, which is a shift from last week. Naseer could save himself by staying over Heather, but it is looking tough for both of them. First up in the D tier is Erika, who keeps her position in the D tier this week. In week 1 I said she had a lot of potential, and while I still think that's true, we haven't seen enough of her to justify her being any higher on the tier list. Last week I said she wasn't a safe pick to make the merge, but after this week I think she is, as Heather and Naseer are targets ahead of her. We'll see what happens down the line, but things aren't looking great for Erika. Next in the D tier is Jeannie, who remains in the D tier from last week. Her closest ally went home in Brad, so she is looking to be the next target on her tribe. She is not strong in challenges, as shown by her sitting out, and Shan JD Ricard are all closer to each other than Genie. Her one saving grace is the potential for a swap, and the fact that JD lost the trust of Shan. Genie is not looking to be a safe pick to make the merge, but things can change every week. Our last D tier is another D tier from the previous week, Xander. While he is still strong in challenges, Xander is on the bottom of his tribe and a likely target should they lose the next challenge. He unfortunately still cannot vote, so even if he wanted to try to flip someone, it wouldn't affect the outcome of a vote. With Brad being voted out, someone who actually said the special phrase has left, which lowers his chance to vote for the near future. Xander is hoping for a swap at this point, or else he is looking like a likely pre-merge boot. Our first C tier this week is Danny. Danny drops from his previous B tier placing of the last 2 weeks. The main reason for this is that we haven't seen much of him over his last 2 weeks, so we don't know how his game has progressed. He is a target of Nasia, which is not the greatest for him, but he should be safe until at least the merge as he is a strong challenge asset for his tribe. If we can see more of Danny's game in coming weeks, he can rise back up on the tier list. Our next C tier is JD, who drops from the B tier from last week. The main reason for the drop in tiers is his blunder in showing Shan his extra vote advantage. Shan is controlling the UR tribe, so being against her is terrible for JD's game. He did somewhat salvage the situation by giving Shan the advantage and gaining some trust back, but he has work to do in the coming weeks if he wants to rise on the tier list. He does not seem to be a target over Genie if UR goes to another tribal council, so he should be safe for at least another week. The first B tier this week is Tiffany, who moves up from her C tier placing last week. She rises because she found the Beware advantage this episode, and got to meet Sydney for the first time. While Sydney didn't trust her, it could be a beneficial relationship moving forward. Tiffany is not strong in challenges, but she is also not the first one to be targeted if Yace loses a challenge. While I am worried about Tiffany in the pre-merge, if she can make it to the merge I can see her making it deep into the game. The next B tier is Deshawn, who rises from his placement in the C tier last week. We saw more of Deshawn this week, which bodes well for him, and he is in a solid position on his tribe. At this point, I see Nasia, Heather and Danny being potential targets ahead of him, so he should be safe barring a swap. Deshawn still has his extra vote, which could help him down the line, and if he can form an alliance with Evvie post-merge then he could make a deep run into the game. Our first A tier this week is Sydney, who remains in the A tier from last week. She has shown that she is in control of her tribe, as she is getting information from Naseer and using it against him. She also was able to find the beware advantage, keeping it out of the hands of Naseer and Heather, which allowed her to meet Tiffany, which could be an important relationship in the future. If Sydney can maintain control of the Luvo tribe, she has a solid shot to win the game. The second A tier this week is Liana, who also maintains her A tier position from last week. Liana was shown this week to narrowly miss an advantage, but it was ultimately of no consequence as she was told by Tiffany, and there was no power gained from it. Liana was aware of her game last week, by recognizing that voting out Voce might have been the wrong move, which shows that she has a good mind for the game. Liana is still in an alliance with Tiffany and Evvie, and would not be the target if Jace goes to tribal, making her have good longevity in this game. I worry for Liana down the line, but as it stands she is in a great position in the game. The last A tier is Ricard, who moves up from his B tier placing from last week. We saw that Shan was not even considering voting him out, which puts Ricard in a great position on his tribe. He was in control of the vote along with Shan, which is the main reason why he rose this week. Brad leaving also gets rid of multiple advantages, which lessens the chance of Ricard leaving if UR loses a challenge. Ricard seems to be in a solid alliance with Shan and JD, and is a good challenge asset, so he should be a safe pick to make the merge at this point. Our first S tier this week is Evvie. This was a quiet episode from Evvie, her quietest episode yet, but not much has changed for her game. We know that Evvie is still in a solid trio with Tiffany and Liana, and there is no chance that Evvie goes home any time before the merge unless there is a swap, so she should be safe as she is in complete control of the Jace tribe. She has her relationship with Deshawn to look to, and will not be a challenge threat at the merge, so I can see Evvie making it deep into the game, with chances to win. Our last and highest player on the list is again Shan, who remains in the S tier for the third week in a row. Shan was in control of the vote this week on the UR tribe, choosing to send home Brad instead of JD. She got rid of multiple advantages that could be used against her, and learned about JD's extra vote advantage, which JD himself gave to her. Shan is a rock-solid pick to make the merge at this point, and should be in a great position after the merge to potentially win. There is my current tier list of who I think is most likely to win and make it far. Keep in mind that these are just my opinions, and I am unspoiled this season, and this is very subject to change.